It's true that when you look at the targets, there's a clear signal for ambition. We're looking at 55% now, but I do wonder if we could go perhaps higher. We know the European Parliament is intending to 60%. Do you think there is a space for a little bit higher?
Well, not for now. We did the analysis, very thorough analysis, and it shows clearly that 55% is something we can do. But if we go beyond 55%, the marginal costs become too heavy. The burden on our industry will become too heavy, and, which I think is an important argument, it sort of would take away the pressure from other parts of the world to do sort of similar steps. Because Europe can't do this, we're only 9% of the emissions, so we can do a lot, we can lead the way, but we can't do this on our own. We really need to convince our international partners to move in the same direction.
And right now there's a very clear timeline going forward in terms of the goals, but this needs to be approved by the European Council, the European Parliament, and of course the national parliaments. So if you're a European citizen, but also an investor, what does the implementation look like? When's the year when we're actually going to see these targets come alive?
Yeah, we're going to come up with the concrete proposals in the different sectors by June next year. So that's when industries and society will see exactly what this means for their sectors. But at the same time, I have to say that there is a huge push from industry telling us, do this. You need to do this. You need to give us some predictability, some long-term security, no zigzagging, stay the course, and then we know what we need to do. And I think this is extremely encouraging. I think frankly speaking, there's much more drive in the private sector than in politics to make this happen, because the private sector has to have this long-term view on what's going to happen with our investments. You see it in the financial sector. They're extremely worried to create stranded assets in the old economy. So they want us to give them some regulatory clarity, some predictability and long-term security so that they can invest in the right direction.
And that's a very good point, because we know that for the financial community and investors, they are interested in the ESG space. They're thinking this is perhaps the way forward when it comes to new investments. Is that something that you get a feedback from the investment community?
Absolutely.
We're very interested actually in?
Absolutely. We get a lot of questions, but also support from the financial sector. If you see organizations like BlackRock making this really enormous change into the green economy, if you see them all, waiting for us to come out with green bonds because they want to be part of that, I believe this is the moment to do this. And we get one shot at this, because this is a moment where we were able to mobilize a form of solidarity on a European scale that probably cannot be repeated anytime soon. So we have this opportunity now. If we squander it, I don't know if I could look my kids in the eyes again.
And now that you mention, those green bonds, that announcement yesterday, 225 billion euros in green bonds, that is huge. Is that something where you think the European Union is going to lead the way in this market when it comes to the regulation, when it comes to the benchmark? Is that where you think we can really become the biggest player?
I think so. I think Europe can really lead the way here, but there's huge interest across the world for this development. If we can show as Commission that we can handle this, that we can go on the markets, that the markets will respond to what we're doing, that this can lead to really successful investment, I think this will take off.
And based on what you're saying, it's pretty clear to me that you're saying the financial community is with us on this, but how about the rest of corporate Europe? And I'm thinking, aviation, they've been at times critical, the car makers. What's the feedback that you get from them?
Well, for them, of course, they're in a difficult situation because they need to make this transformation. But at the same time, they also need to go through very profound restructuring because of the COVID crisis and the economic slump that resulted from that. So they have to combine many things. They have to keep people in jobs. They have to reskill people. And I think we really need a partnership between the private sector, between the different industries and the public sector to make sure they can do this in a sustainable way. And they will need support for this. They can't do this on their own, and we all need to take our responsibility to help them to get there.